Now, Jedi Fallen Order is a game that I've had a hot and cold relationship with. It was a game that interests me for mainly two reasons. Firstly, it received generally good reception from most players and the reviewers that were able to review it. And it was honestly and truly the first really interesting and good Star Wars game that had been produced in a number of years, and the people that I've heard about it from had mentioned that and made that very clear, especially since the previous failures and disappointments of the two Battlefront games that were made by DICE and EA. So it was nice for a change of pace, for something to be produced by a different developer, Respawn Studios, who had developed a number of really quality titles, including the Titanfall series and the smash hit of a battle royale that I truly enjoy a whole lot, Apex Legends. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I really do not know anything about the Star Wars verse or the Star Wars series, This is also part of the reason why I was interested in Jedi Fallen Order. I thought, hey, maybe this is the opportunity that will motivate me to finally get into the series. I'd never watched any of the Star Wars movies. Perhaps I'd seen a Clone Wars cartoon here and there way back in the day on Cartoon Network. Of course, I'd known and seen the cool lightsaber battles and, know some of the famous characters such as, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader and stuff. And I've embarked and dealt with some of the content, such as the Lego Star Wars games that I've played with a couple of my homies. But other than that, I really don't know anything much about the Star Wars series. The only thing that I really do know, I think is correct, is that the Jedi are the good guys and the Empire is essentially the bad guys. So I was hoping this title would be able to motivate me and get me really interested in the entire series as a whole. So with the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order being recently released at the Game Awards that recently came out, I thought, this is finally time for me to go ahead and wrap up Jedi Fallen Order. Now, there are a number of substantial reasons why I've been hot and cold with this game. I've played it on and off since I bought it at the end of 2021. So as we cover the various parts of the review, I'll explain why I lost interest and have ultimately moved on to more engaging titles. After pretty much wrapping up Bloodborne and I've delved deeper into the Old Hunters DLC, I knew it was time it's about time I finally wrapped this up and gave it the attention that Jedi Fallen Order really deserves. Now, first of all, we're going to jump right into the story. I want to tackle this first, as this is not exactly where the huge amount of focus I'm going to be placing on in this review, particularly in the narrative. I think the best way to describe the narrative of Jedi Fallen Order is a very slow burn. As I've mentioned before, I have no pre-existing knowledge of the Star Wars verse, so I'm absolutely certain there are little Easter eggs and part of the lore that I've missed that diehard fans will appreciate and notice. So of course, my review of the narrative will be my analysis of this particularly contained story. The typical ways many have described this title is a mix between Uncharted and the Dark Souls series. I can agree with this statement somewhat. Out of all things, I'd say Jedi Fallen Order falls short is in its characters. Now, Cal, the main character, the redhead, who's our main character, he's an okay main character, and throughout his journey he grows, he learns from his past mistakes, he deals with his previous demons, as it was pivotal in his past and pivotal to his growth today. He dealt with the various challenges that he dealt with, and the rewards of his character development are somewhat fulfilling as he grows to become a man. But I'll be honest with you guys, because this story is not extremely engaging and is more of a slow burn, a stronger, more interesting main protagonist was needed to carry the story. Cal's a great guy, but there's so much more that you would expect. The side characters themselves have gone through their fair share of problems as well. You will appreciate their growth, and as they grow, their bonds together. As your crew grows, you'll appreciate their interactions with Cal and each other. While I understand that not everyone can be witty and badass like Nathan Drake, Cal unfortunately leaves quite a bit to be desired. Now, I'll be honest with you, Fallen Order starts off very, very strong. The stellar visuals grab you very strongly, the breathtaking vistas, and the cinematography is well executed and is honestly sensational. The story starts off with the main character Cal as he works as a mechanic on some off-reach planet while he remains to hide from the Empire, and he hides the use of his abilities as a Jedi. The tension rises quite early in the game as you're first forced to expose yourself while trying to save a dear friend. This kickstarts your whole journey as you'll begin your journey as Cal to rebuild the Jedi Order and hopefully finally defeat the Empire. The story is serviceable, but it's not what's going to keep you coming back to this title. Okay, there are areas where the game definitely excels, but the story and the narrative is definitely not one of them. Now, let's head on over into possibly the meat and bones of this entire package and kind of the motivation of why I even made this review in the first place. The exploration and the level design. Now, before I even made this review, I posted a little piece over there on Patient Gaming, and I had a little bit of discussion with some of the people that were on there, and were able to have a little bit of a dialogue on the exploration and level design. And I'll explain to you my thoughts on it and why this main facet of the game makes the game falter as a whole. The exploration is particularly what motivated me to make this review at all. Or let me get the level design out of the way, because I don't really have truly any gripes with the level design as a whole. It's varied and engaging enough. A linear level design is opted with regular backtracking. So that's essentially the options and the way that you'll be playing the game. You'll go to a new planet, explore in a linear style exploration. You'll go in and take the path. It's definitely well designed and the visuals are stellar. You'll go through that path, and as soon as you find what you're looking for or you complete the objective, you will essentially go back the same route in which you came, and that is the backtracking. Personally, I'm not a fan of backtracking in any game. Once I've seen a new area, I don't want to go back to that place regularly. They try to make it interesting by adding in enemies on your way back, and usually by the time you backtrack, you've unlocked a new ability that makes the trip a wee bit faster. My issue comes from two things. Firstly, the map is poor. It's easy to get lost and end up spending a lot of time trying to return to your ship. This is especially annoying as on your way back, you've probably done everything that was interesting on that planet or on that path already. This is worse than Planet Zephyr. This is where you spend too much time trying to make it back to your ship, as there are a number of difficult enemies on your path, and it's very confusing on the exact path you're supposed to take back, particularly thanks to the poor map design system. Now, the second issue is by far the biggest reason and makes the backtracking even less entertaining or worthwhile. As I mentioned before, I wrote a little piece on Reddit acknowledging the game's poor exploration. The level design is decent, but the exploration is simply not worthwhile. A vital part of exploration is incentive. If I go off the beaten path, what will I find and what will I see? Fallen Order lacks worthwhile incentive to explore. There are at max 3 things you can find by looking around. A poor cosmetic for your ship, the Mantis, a poor lightsaber cosmetic, or a different color poncho. Not riveting at all. All these things are honestly pathetic and don't make exploration worth it at all. Now, of course, there are very few and rare times where you can find a force, health, or health stim upgrades, but they are far and few between. This flaw immediately stood out to me as I had recently completed Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. These games make exploration great as you can find armor, special items, souls, and even shortcuts from exploring. You are amply rewarded as a player by going, the extra mile. Now understand that Jedi Fallen Order is not an RPG, so the items and things you will find can't be as extensive as a Souls game, but there are ways in which you can make the items we find more worthwhile to incentivize exploration. The only reason I try to find everything possible is because I have a little bit of a completionist playstyle. When I purchase a game, I want to explore and see every single nook and cranny as I explore. So with Jedi Survivor, the sequel to the game, on the way, if something such as exploration is not improved upon, I can only see them falling short once again. If they continue to make the same mistakes they made before, the game will continue to be short of greatness. Also, if Cal Kester can become a better character and the exploration can be improved, I truly think the sky is the limit. Fallen Order has great potential. Was Respawn's true first attempt at a dedicated single-player game with no multiplayer features, nothing but focus on the narrative and story. So I think that far more can be achieved this second time around. They've made a good title and it sold relatively well during its time of release. I think EA will have much more trust in Respawn, considering the previous projects that they've definitely pumped out, and they've produced nothing but high quality content since their conception of Titanfall. So I'm hoping that in the next time around with Jedi Survivor, there'll be a lot more to enjoy and sink our teeth into as we consider this game as a full and entire experience. Now guys, let's consider the gameplay, the UI, and the overall gameplay systems that Jedi Fallen Order adopts. The gameplay is good and fun. I really don't have any complaints here personally considering the gameplay. Some people may have an issue with the jankiness of the movement and the combat style, but for me, it personally hits the spot. There are a number of various enemies that you'll fight, varying from some menacing creatures and the various classes of stormtroopers. Their banter is top class. Of course, it's not as good as other games such as in the Arkham games, the various thugs that taunt Batman as you play the game, but there's enough banter to keep you entertained during every single encounter. Now over time, you'll unlock a number of abilities and combos as you progress through the story. The game seems to purposely keep your force powers weak compared to what you've seen in other games, movies, series in the Star Wars universe. You can upgrade Cal through the use of experience gained from exploration and defeating enemies like in usual other games. But they adopted the Souls formula because they've implemented meditation points. When you go and you essentially rest at these meditation points, all your enemies and will be respawned. So when you sit there, enemies will come back like a general Souls game, and there is the risk of losing your progress. Your experience points can be lost if you do not retrieve it and you die. But I will be honest, the system here is a lot more forgiving, as you only lose experience. You'd only lose the experience score before you gain a skill point. So if you essentially have because if you look at the bottom of your screen, there'll be a number of numbers that'll be at the bottom, particularly when you rest. If you gain a complete skill point, once that's locked in, it's locked in. You cannot lose it even if you die. What you'll lose is all the experience before you gain a full and entire skill point. So it's definitely not more forgiving than the Souls game, because in the Souls game, you can gain up to 200k souls. And if you die and you die again and lose those souls, they aren't coming back. They don't like cap it at, once you reach 100k souls, you're going to keep it. No. If you die, you die and you lose all that progress that you've made. Now, let's consider the world and the visuals and little bits of a note in the performance. Now, Jedi Fallen Order has a surprisingly good performance. I did hear that during release there were a couple of graphical bugs and issues that many players faced, but of course I played this game much later. I began to play it in 2021, where all such fixes and issues have been resolved. There are a few stutters and pauses here and there when the action gets a little bit too hot in a few places, particularly Dathomir. Those are the most times I've actually experienced that. But the game copes pretty well. It's a decent 1080p 30 frames per second consistently. I'll give them credit, the visuals are stellar, but the various biomes you visit are very unique and keep the game fresh despite the backtracking. As during each visit you'll visit a new area, a new planet, so you definitely won't be bored and you'll be kept entertained throughout. It looks good, it looks very good even on the old base PS4, and I was thoroughly satisfied with the experience with the very small and minuscule visual cues. As I mentioned before, very rarely do you have bugs, pretty much experienced no bugs. The only issue that I faced was the stutter that lasted a pretty long period of time for about 10 seconds, but essentially the entire game pauses. So it's not like the environment around me continues to act and carry on. No, the game pauses and you see a little Jedi Fallen Order little badge spinning at the bottom left corner, and as soon as the issue is resolved, you'll be back into the action. Now, guys, let's consider the entire package as a whole and all the facts that we've gathered and know of up until this point. Overall, Jedi Fallen Order has a number of flaws that definitely need to be worked on, placing heavy note on the exploration, narrative, and the characters. I'm genuinely interested to see what type of improvements Jedi Survivor will bring us, as the game will be coming out relatively soon in 2023. Now, before I give my final thoughts, I want to give just a few more details so you as the customer can make an intelligent gaming decision, as I am a patient gamer myself. Let's head on over to How Long to Beat to see how much playtime we'll get overall. Now, lads, if you focus on the main story, you'll get about 17 hours of gameplay. Now, if you're a little bit more of a completionist and you want to explore a little bit more despite the rewards not being that worthwhile, you'll get about 22 hours of content. And the crazies, if you want to do and see and get every single item and see every single nook and cranny of the entire game, you will have about 31 hours of playtime to do everything. And that's a decent amount. Since me personally, I've been on and off with the game honestly for about a year and a half. I've genuinely been surprised how long the game has gone for. I expected to be done with it a whole lot earlier, but the game continues to keep coming with the content, so it definitely won't feel short at all. This is no meager Call of Duty campaign that's only 7 to 6 or 8 hours. This is a substantial single player experience. Now, let's consider the prices of Jedi Fallen Order. Now, if you're over on PS Plus, this is definitely going to be a no-brainer. This will be an easy pickup because this will be included in the January 2023 rollout of the essential games that will be coming out for PS Plus. So if you do not own Jedi Fallen Order already, this is a no-brainer and you'll pretty much have a decent time. And I'm sure if you're already a fan of Star Wars, you're going to definitely have a great time. But if you're an individual who doesn't have PS Plus and you're going to be picking up the game yourself at some point, if you head on over to PS Deals over here, you'll be able to pick up Jedi Fallen Order for 116 Rand. Be intelligent and make sure you look out for a good sale and you'll be able to pick it up. And I'm talking about the deluxe edition. So you'll be able to get all the benefits that comes with a few cosmetics. The other benefits that come are the digital soundtrack and the artwork. So you'll be definitely getting the full package. And it honestly just makes more sense, dude. If you're going to pick up a game late, you might as well pick it up and pick up the deluxe edition and get all the extra stuff that come with the entire package. Now, if you're over in the US, you can get it for the low price of $5.99 if you ensure to pick it up on a deep sale. Now, if you also check on GG Deals, you can pick it up for $4.79 if you're over there on PC. So definitely, guys, you're going to have a great time. Definitely. And so if you go over on PS Plus, no brainer. This is an easy pickup. Go ahead and give the game a try. It's a decent title. Really, do you get such a decent month of PS Plus? So hey, I'm saying go all in, guys. Enjoy it. Now, considering all of the factors that I mentioned, I won't lie, I'm genuinely stumped at where I want to place the game in terms of a rating. There are a number of really good and strong aspects to it. It's genuinely a good game, and you can see that it just needs a little bit of more elbow grease to work out the kinks. It definitely lost my interest at times. The quality of the game definitely improves towards the end. It has a strong start, a mediocre trough in the middle there, but it has a higher peak towards the climax of the entire game. So, as I've said before, if you are already a fan of the Star Wars series, you'll definitely appreciate it more. But me, as a neutral, I am going to have to give the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a really genuine rating. Out of 10, I am going to give Jedi Fallen Order a 6.8. It is a good game, but it ultimately leaves quite a bit to be desired. If Respawn can step their game up and improve the areas in some pivotal areas, they could definitely have a Game of the Year contender on their hands. Guys, just make the damn loot worthwhile. I've had enough of picking up these damn ponchos, man. Bad. But yeah, no, guys, it's a decent game. I would recommend you pick it up. If you're on PS Plus, it's an easy play. definitely it's a good month if you're over there on PS Plus. But yeah, man, definitely give it a try and tell me your thoughts down there in the comments if you have played Jedi Fallen Order already yourself. See you guys next time, and I appreciate your support. As always, more content is on the way. Take it easy, gents.